Today is the 7th of June, 2019. It is 3 o'clock, 1500 hours. So right now I have I got something on my mind. It's and I'm trying to choose my words carefully, because everything that's going to come out of my mouth right now is going to label me a bigot. And YouTube has become quite draconian on what they consider community standards. And this is something that I really want to talk about. It has to do with the LGBTQTXYZ community. Probably going to get this thing reported. So I have to choose my words very carefully. It is Gay Pride Month. I didn't even know we had a Gay Pride Month until I started seeing flags flying all over the place. And a bank that I go to on a regular basis has got TV screens, and they're throwing up the Gay Pride flag, the little rainbow flag up there, so we celebrate. And this is basically kind of what I want to say about this. Since when do we start to celebrate lifestyles with what people prefer, who people prefer to have sex with? I really want you to think about that, because that's really what the gay community is about. It's the acceptance about who you want to sleep with, who you want to choose to love, more or less. I've got 3 dogs. I love them all probably more than most people. I don't know what that makes me, but I sure ain't gonna get my rocks off with them. I mean, to put it in vernacular. So this is what I was thinking about this. So we're supposed to celebrate this as Gay Pride Month. Right now I'm driving and there's cars going around, and I'm looking at every individual, and I don't know if everybody's like this, but everybody's an individual. I don't know what this guy in the turning lane across the street from me does in the privacy of his bedroom. I don't care what the guy does, to be honest with you. And that's something he has to deal with. And I doubt he's going to let me know what his thing is and what he does. And I doubt that he has a flag that represents it. The vast majority of people you see every day in the street and in the car, they're all somewhere on a sexual spectrum, whether they're married or they're not married. And I'm not even telling you what even going down a path of morality here, because I don't know what any of those people do in the closet, in the open, behind closed doors. And I don't want to know. Do you think they advertise it? I don't advertise myself. It's nobody's business. So this is a community that has adopted the rainbow, flies it high, because their identity is tied up in their sexual preferences. Now they're going to argue that they have no choice, and this is part of who they are, that it is a natural thing. And this is my argument. There's a lot of things that you can say are natural. Okay? And the gay community will point to the animal kingdom, saying there is homosexuality and been recorded in 1,500 species, blah, 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 so on and so forth. Well, It is recorded in a lot of different species of animals, but so is cannibalism. Okay. So is abandonment of their offspring. All right. So is infanticide, and so is abortion. Is natural in the animal kingdom. I will give you two really good examples of infanticide, or in an instance, and abortion in animals. Let's take horses. Horses in the wild. Horses have a matriarchal society, but they have a stallion that keeps a harem of females, and the males fight. A male will fight. A stallion will fight to keep his harem of mares. If another stallion comes and deposes that particular stallion to take his mares, any of those mares that are pregnant, he will abort, more or less, the pregnant mares. He will kick them. He will force the mares to have a spontaneous abortion so they can come into an estrous cycle again, and he can father the new offspring. He doesn't want the pregnant mares they're pregnant by the previous stallion. That's a natural thing. Let's go to lions. Lions live in prides. It's a matriarchal society once again, but there's always generally one male lion that is in the pride. Sometimes there's two, and they tend to be brothers, and they co-rule. But the females are the ones that do all the work and do the hunting, but the males are the ones that protect the pride, protect the females, including the cubs, if those cubs are his. If another male lion, another rival, deposes the standing male, okay, the first thing he does is kill all the cubs. He kills the cubs of all the females from the male that he deposed. That's infanticide, if you want to call it that. And what does that do? It forces the females to go into heat, to go into estrus, so they cycle again. He can mate with them and father his own offspring. That's natural. These two examples that I use in the animal kingdom are natural. So, the thing that I want to address with this is we are human beings. And there is a segment of our population that wants to argue that we're no different than the rest of the creatures on the planet. Well, we are very different from the rest of the creatures on the planet. We share many similarities, particularly as a physicality. We're all composed of protein, and we're all biological entities made of DNA, etc. But that's about as far as we need to eat, we need to breathe, we need to drink, we need to sleep, so on and so forth. But there is nothing like us on the planet. You want to compare us to chimps? Because speaking of DNA, they are the closest thing to us. You know, there's only I think a 1%, maybe a 1 to 5% difference between us and chimps, and look how drastically different we are. We're only, I think, and I could be getting this wrong, if I recall, we're only 5% different than a mouse or a rat. My percentages may be off, but if I recall that's how close we are even to rodents, if you think about it. And look how drastically different we are. The point being is, if these things are natural in the animal kingdom, infanticide, abortion type behavior, so is cannibalism. Cannibalism is common in the natural world. It's very common, particularly in the rodents. And there's reasons for it. I can go into the details about it, but I'm really not going to. But cannibalism is It's not that uncommon in the animal kingdom. So, what are you going, as human beings, what do you decide that you are going to embrace that's natural? Do you want to embrace cannibalism that's natural? We're already embracing abortion as something being natural. And it's edging towards infanticide to be natural. So we're going to embrace these things that are found in the animal kingdom as natural and not hold ourselves to a higher standard. So let's embrace cannibalism. If we're going to embrace homosexuality, we really should embrace all these other things as being natural because it's found in the animal kingdom. I want somebody to really think hard about this. Are we not better than this? Are we, animals kill each other all the time. They really don't, particularly animals that are fighting. Well, animals that hold territory. Animals that, that fight that compete for mates. Okay? It's natural. There's another argument about that monogamy is not natural. Because the vast majority particularly of higher mammals, higher vertebrates, monogamy is not the rule. It really isn't. And there's always a segment of human beings that want to argue that, no, it's not natural to be monogamous. So they have... Think about this. Now, most human females will disagree and argue about the whole monogamy thing. They think monogamy is the way it should go. I can give examples in the animal kingdom where monogamy is the rule. With swans, with geese, even with pigeons, believe it or not. Eagles, most of the birds of prey are monogamous for life. There's reasons biologically for that I'm not going to get into. But it comes down to the whole thing I'm saying, what do we decide to embrace that is natural and what isn't? Do we as human beings hold ourselves to a higher standard of behavior? As we should, because we're spiritual beings. And a lot of times as guys in the gay community, it's tied up with love, because love is love. Well, you know what? When love is love, you're going to see a progression now to where you're going to have pedophilia as love is love. There's going to be people right now that say, oh, no, that'll never happen. It's coming. It's coming. You're going to start to see scientific studies that are saying, oh, it doesn't hurt children and it's good for them. They will come up with ways to justify pedophilia because love is love. And then you're going to have people like screwing animals because they're out there. They are really deep in the closet because it's so vilified and considered so foul. They're the next on the agenda after the pedophiles. In some parts of the world, it's actually endorsed. I know in Germany, it's legal to have sex with animals. Think about it. Even in Canada. Think about this. Where are we going as human beings? Mentally, spiritually, when we embrace these things that are going to be called by some people natural behaviors. We are better than this. We need to aspire to greater things than this. And this is just basically how I sum things up in a nutshell like this. If your identity is wrapped up in your what people will call their sexual identity, if that's how you define yourself, you're defining yourself at the very lowest base of human behavior that there is. I'm sorry. I mean, that's really the truth. That whole sexual part of humanity comes from the lowest part of our nature. It really, really does. Because if you think about it, it is That is a natural drive in every living creature. You know, whether it's a rat, a bacterium, a paramecium, the ability, the whole sexual reproduction thing, it's tied up into that regardless. So if you're going to identify with that lower part of your brain, that behavior that controls the lower base parts of our behavior, man, there's a problem. We are so much more than that. So, is this considered hate speech? Probably by some. I've tried to be amicable about it, but if your identity is tied up in your sexual preference, you have a problem. Honestly. Can't you aspire to be something more than to be seen than that's what you're going to identify with? Aren't you more than that as a person, as a human being? And why does the rest of the world have to know what your choice is about what you want to sleep with? Why does the rest of the world got to know that? Why is it even the rest of the world's business? I mean, regardless of what some people say, I mean, the world was, I think, a much better place when that stuff was in the closet. And I don't care what anybody says, what they may think about that. That's my opinion. I think the world was a better place. Because if you don't see what goes on at these pride parades, what the media doesn't show you, you really need to look and see what they expose children to and what there's a problem. And I promise you, as our society keeps going on and as this world keeps turning, human society is going to degrade and degrade and degrade more into the point where it's going to fall in upon itself. And it's not going to be a good situation when that is coming. Because that is coming. And I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of hateful comments on this, but, you know, that's too bad. It's something that needs to be said, regardless of what anybody thinks. Like I said, is this considered hateful? I'm not hateful towards anybody, for the most part. I just don't like people cramming their sexuality down my throat. I absolutely despise that. I hate it. I don't want that crammed down my throat constantly. I don't wave any flag. If I wave any flag, it's going to be the flag of the country that I live in, not a flag of my sexual identity. I've thought about making a flag for myself because everybody else seems to make a flag. So I might as well come up with my own flag and fly that. It's just crazy. But I want you to think about that whole natural thing. You want to embrace what is natural. Really, really consider it, because we are so much more. Human beings are so much more, and we should aspire to be something greater than what we just consider natural. That's just food for thought.